Hey guys, welcome to week 2 of remote learning. I hope you guys all had a really nice weekend and that you stayed inside and stayed healthy, but still somehow managed to enjoy your weekend. Hope you guys all watched something fun and interesting, that you guys all did your reading, and that all of your work for last week is complete, okay? So, we're going to pick up right where we left off last week with George versus George. We're going to be looking at pages 18 through 22 again, okay? And I am going to make another video of me reading 18 to 22, close up, slow, so you guys can see everything, so that you can do your chart today, okay? I will be posting that later on after this video, so you have them both. You need to watch both videos today. Got it? Okay, good. Now, we have to start off today with our focus question and our content framing question, which our focus question is still, what are the perspectives of both sides in George versus George, which, you know, as we keep going, we get more and more information, and we're starting to see how they feel about each other. Then the content framing question is, what is happening on pages 18 through 22? But we also have to talk today about first and second hand accounts. Now, this isn't necessarily a part of our focus question, but it's an important part of what we're going to be doing going forward. Because with Wit and Wisdom, even though we're doing one thing now, it's always building on itself to get to the next thing. And first and second hand accounts are important because A, they're a type of evidence, right? So if we didn't have first and second hand accounts, we wouldn't be able to learn about anything. So first hand accounts are accounts that show that people that were actually there, what they were thinking, and what they said. And then a second hand account is not from an original source. Okay, so let's just take a look at George versus George really quick. So when you're looking at George versus George, there's a lot of different elements to this text. You have the entire section of text, and then you have these speech bubbles, and they have names attached to them. These speech bubbles are actual quotes from the people who said them. So you have Samuel Adams there, and you have the British poet. And what's in those bubbles is what they actually said. Those are written down quotes that are proven and linked to those people. Now, the rest of everything that's written here is technically a secondhand account, okay? So Rosalind Shanzer did a lot of research on the Revolutionary War to write this book. And so in her research, where she found all of these things about the taxes and what the Sons of Liberty did, and you know how the governments worked, that's all her independent research, which makes this book overall a secondary source because she did not live during the Revolutionary War, but she was able to find first-hand accounts, these quotes that were written down and stored throughout history, to help strengthen and make her book more interesting. The reason I say strengthen the book is because that's what we do with evidence, okay? We take our evidence that we find in this text and we back up our points. We use evidence in all of our writing, okay? So, first-hand accounts are shows that people that were actually there thought. So that would be thought bubbles, and direct quotes. Second-hand sources that are not from original source are based off of research. And, you know, for the American Revolution, you have to research that. But a second-hand source could be the news, a newspaper, someone that reports, someone reporting on a topic, okay? And what I wrote down here in all caps is that both types of evidence help the author show the different perspectives in the text, okay? And the reason I wanted to go over evidence again is because of where we're going to be going next with our unit, okay? We're going to go all the way back. I remember making this chart in the classroom. It was hanging by my desk up until like right before we left school, and I started putting math charts up. And that is the painted essay, okay? The painted essay takes us into our craft question for today, which is, what is the purpose of explanatory writing? Now, if you just look at the word explanatory, or if you're listening like you are to me, do you hear any sort of word in explanatory? Well, as soon as I hear it, I hear the word explain. And honestly, that's what explanatory writing does. It's just a fancy way of saying you're going to write something that explains about a topic, okay? You are writing to explain a topic to someone. Okay, and I'll put a little smiley face in that. Because when you have to explain things to people. Like, I just can't say to you guys, this is the Revolutionary War. It was the British, it was the colonists, they fought, we're done. That wouldn't really do much for you, would it? You'd be like, wait, whoa, but why were they fighting? What happened in these fights? How many fights was it? How many years was it? You'd have a lot of questions. And that's important, because as you're writing, you're gonna need to think of all of those questions to make sure you're giving your reader everything that they need, okay? So to go over the parts of a painted essay, and I'll make this a bigger chart. I'll show you guys that bigger chart. I'll take a picture of it. I'll upload it once we actually get into the writing of it. But for now, I just have the parts listed, and we're going to talk about them. So a painted essay is not much different from any other sort of essay we might write, any sort of extended response, whatever. It's an introduction, okay? In your introduction, you have your thesis. You're going to tell me what it's all about. Let me fill some of this in. What is it all about? Okay? And now we're gonna get back into writing those hooks. Can you believe, you can start off with a question. I know that most people love to start with a question, but you can start off any other way that can grab a reader's attention, whether it's with an interesting fact or an interesting quote, like no taxation without representation would be something that like jumps out to me as an interesting way to start off a painted essay. Now, intro, pretty standard. You give your 2 points at the end, okay? Because we're going to be talking about both sides of the argument. So, now, proof paragraph number 1. You're going to pick whichever perspective you want to talk about first. But let's do the colonists first, okay? So paragraph 1 is going to be the colonists' perspective. And in that paragraph, you would give me all the information about the Revolutionary War from the colonist point of view. Then for your proof paragraph number 2, you're going to obviously talk about the British perspective. And you're going to meet all that you can find about the British point of view and why they wanted to go against the colonists, okay? And the last thing is going to be your conclusion. Now, everyone here should know that a good conclusion does, and if you said restate your intro in a little bit different way, you're correct, okay? So it's your intro repeated to sum up, okay? So, as you guys keep reading, keep in mind you're going to be using everything that gets read to you to create this essay, okay? If you haven't been, now might be a good time to go back and listen to these recordings and take some notes and say, okay, pages 7 through 18. These are the things I remember. These are the things I think are important. When you watch the video today of 18 through 22, definitely be jotting things down. Make a little column for yourself. Colonists, British, and jot in underneath, okay? What you're going to be doing today, I'm going to make this for you so you don't have to build it yourself and make it for you guys in Word, is a somebody wanted to, but so chart, okay? And you're going to make 2 of them. You're going to do one for the British, and you're going to do one for the colonists. So your somebody, in this case, we'll say the British. Then, based on pages 18 through 22, you're going to write in something that they wanted to do. Now, can you write down more than one thing they wanted to do? Absolutely. So, find one thing they wanted to do. If you find a second or a third, that's great also. But the British wanted to do what? They wanted to blank, but blank, but blank. But why couldn't they do it? Then so, what they did instead. Or it could be the British wanted to, but then they decided to do something else, and then that happened. Okay? So it's a little bit of a cause and effect type deal with somebody that they wanted to do. Something happened, and the effect was this. Okay? So we've done this a bunch of times before. Somebody wanted to, but so. You're doing one chart for the British, one chart for the colonists. Okay? Again, welcome to week 2. Let's have a great week. Make sure you guys are getting all of your things in on time. Please be uploading. And if you are behind at any point on any of your work, just make sure that it is due in on Friday. And I'm going to be available, of course, for any questions you guys might have. All right? Talk to you throughout the week. Bye.